Welcome and thank you for joining Midweek Inspiration at the Galilee Nation with Dr. Tellis J. Chapman.
Greetings, friends. It's that time of year again. Our spring session of our 2025 Midweek Inspiration Services, otherwise dubbed as Lunch and Learn. I want to encourage you to be here 12 noon each Tuesday as our moment of invocation convenes at 11:50. Lecture convenes at 12 noon sharp. If you can carve out a good 30 minutes of your Tuesday to learn the Word of God, to dig deeper so that we may know as of how to go further, carve that time out. Meet us here each Tuesday at noon for our Lunch and Learn. Brown bag lunches will be prepared for you as you leave out of the door to get back to your work or to whatever your weekly activity may be. I am excited about what the Lord is preparing to reveal to us as we continue to drive home this theme, serving God with the spirit of excellence. My brothers and sisters, share this word with your family, with your friends, bring your co-workers or your neighbors, and let us learn together. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you here. Now, in your handouts, you should have Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. There's a New Testament parallel to this a passage of Scripture, that being Luke 19, verses 11 through 27. Now, you see a word in your handout for the title of this lecture today and tomorrow, next Tuesday. Responsibility. Did you notice that? Not responsibility is in one word, but responsibility. And by the end of this lecture and the end of next week's lecture and the end of this month's lectures, you're going to see that stewardship is really about responsibility. How you take what God has given you and put it to use for the kingdom. Now, I used to wonder what older people meant when they said God will not put any more on you than you can bear. Now, it took me a minute to get it as I grew older, but there is a bit of undertone to this. God will not put any more on you than you can bear. Sometimes he will. And it's to let you know who's been bearing most of the weight all along anyway. Right? So God knows what to put on you, and God knows what to give you to do. Oh, God knows what to give you to do. Hence, God gives you the ability to do it. Matthew 25, verses 14 through to the 30th verse reads as follows in the New Revised Standard Version. For it is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. The one who had received the 5 talents went off at once and traded with them and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had the 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled
accounts with them. Then the one who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you handed over to me 5 talents. See, I've made 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You've been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one with the 2 talents also came forward, saying, Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I've made 2 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You've been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Verse 24. Then the one who had received the 1 talent also came forward, saying, Master, I know that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But his master replied, You wicked and lazy slave. You knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with the brokers, and on my return I will have received that what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with the 10 talents. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But for those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, we know that that parabolic expressions are earthly stories with heavenly meanings. We get that, right? Okay, so in this instance, it is Jesus Christ referencing the capacities and abilities that God has given to us to do what is necessary for kingdom service. Now, a bit of the background for the book of Matthew, so you understand where Matthew is coming from. Mark wrote, the Gospel of Mark was written so as to present Jesus as a servant. Write it down. Luke wrote to present the humanity of Jesus. John wrote to present Jesus as God in the flesh. Matthew, servant. Luke, human. John, God. But Matthew wrote to present Jesus as king. Mark, servant. Luke, human. John, God. Matthew, king. So all of the emphasis of the book of Matthew is about kingdom business. It is about kingdom work. It is about serving the kingdom, becoming a part of God's kingdom. You got that, right? Now, so Matthew is credited for writing the book that bears the name Matthew. Got that? Now, before he became a writer of the actions of Jesus, which has come to be known throughout Christendom as the work of Jesus, or the gospel according to Matthew, or the gospel of Jesus according to Matthew, he was a tax collector. He worked for the state of Rome. Jerusalem was a part of the province that belonged to the Roman Empire. The Romans were in charge of that part of the world when Jesus was born. That's what got him killed when all of this news was going around Jerusalem and Judea about Jesus being the king of the Jews. Well, that got him in trouble with Herod and Caesar. Got him killed, executed, right? Matthew's gospel nevertheless emphasizes Jesus Christ as king and Christ's kingdom. Now, the parable focuses primarily upon the useless servant. This parable of a man who was well off enough, I don't want to use the word wealthy, but well off enough to impart to his servants money to be invested, right? And one he gave more money than the other. The one to whom he gave the least amount is the one that the parable really focuses on. The one who just simply did, you got it. Nothing. Now, gifts that are not used are generally lost. Now, there's a euphemism that goes something like this: use it or lose it. You've heard that? Gifts that are not used are lost. Now, it's kind of warming up in Michigan now, right? Well, Lower Peninsula. So last weekend, I think we got up close to, it's like mid-60s, right? So I went out and took out my golf clubs and went to the golf range, sort of work off some rust. Fine, good, no problem. Medium basket of golf balls. I think it's like some 80 golf balls in a medium back bucket of golf balls. But now the next morning, Sunday, I could barely argue what happened. What did I sleep wrong? And it dawned on me that I hadn't used those muscles since last fall. So when you don't use it, you lose it. The title talent is somewhat unfortunate. This comes from the preacher's commentary series, third clause in your handout. The word talent is unfortunate in that in our language, we interpret talent as some physical ability, right? The talent in this story references a weight. Underline that. Its value depended upon what the object weighed, so as to determine whether it was copper, silver, or gold. It wasn't called money, but in essence, that's what it was. Not talent as we know talent. Not ability as we know ability. Now, the implication of the parable references ability. But the literal language of the text was about money, which was weighed. You get that? In the story, talents were given to several individuals according to their abilities. Verse 15. It would be best to interpret talents in the context, this context, it is best to interpret talents as opportunities. And in the parable, each one was given an opportunity according to their ability and was expected to serve faithfully. So this parable is about responsibility. Now let me go back. Go back to the text and read verses 14 and 15. The kingdom of God is as if a man going on a journey called his slaves and entrusted his property to them. Key verse. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, each one according to his ability. Now, don't you know there's a reason why the master gave one servant 1 talent, and he knew not to give him 5? Because if he would bury 1, he'll bury 10. God gave you what you can handle. And this lecture will eventually get out to preachers and church leaders and individuals, even in the corporate arena and in the workforce. Why isn't your church larger? Why isn't your work bigger? It's because the Lord knew what you could handle. So you can deflate your ego because your ego and your assignment don't match. Your ego is larger than what God determined your ability is. So you can deflate and come on back down to earth with the rest of us because God gave you what he knew that you could handle. Now let me elaborate a bit here. This story closes with the language of destruction and outer darkness. That is, the person didn't do the master any good, so he didn't even want him occupying any space. Get rid of him. Take what I gave him, give it to the one who had the 5 talents, invested and made 5 more, equaling 10. Move this brother, because he's not only wasting time, he's taking up space. Now the question is, are you wasting God's time? Are you wasting space? Or are you affecting the kingdom with what God gave you? Several words come into play here. You have the word slave, doulos, D-O-U-L-O-S. It is one who conducts themselves according to the bidding of another without say. One has surrendered, or their will is at the behest of another individual. That's a slave. All right? Now, if I really wanted to get in the nitty-gritty, I'd talk about slavery. I can identify with it. You all may not be able to identify with it because you all are not, you're not African Americans. So you all don't understand this, right? So my ancestry included slavery. 246 years of being forced to do things against one's will and couldn't do anything about it, right? So now you all may have some cousins who might have been slaves, but I think it's about 45 or 50 of you who doesn't know anything about slavery. Yeah, so now you're supposed to laugh at that. That was a joke. Yeah, ha ha, pastor. Yeah, so there's another word, talent. This word means a scale of balance. It came to mean something or reference something that was weighed. Not talent as in physical ability. It concerned a fixed weight of copper, gold, or silver. You got that? So, whatever the value of the talent was that this master gave to those servants, it turned out to have been a significant amount of money. Now, I'm not certain of this. I will cite another source, but it is determined by them. That is the Zodiacs Complete Word Study Dictionary, that the amount of money that was given to the servants in today's dollars was about $1,000, approximately $1,000. whether it was $5, $10, or $1,000. They were responsible for investing what they received. Somebody didn't do it. One brother didn't do it and was therefore called lazy. The word akneo in the Greek, or the word akneros, means to be slow, not in mental capacity, but slow as in getting something accomplished. Just, have you all ever seen a sorry, I'm talking about a sorry person, just sorry. Everything they do is just sorry. Sorry. No efficiency, no spunk, nothing expeditious about their movement. Just sorry. I mean, sometimes I get a taste for, like a fish sandwich or something, and I may go into a fast food place like a McDonald's, and I just see sorry. You just come to the counter sorry. I mean, take your order sorry. Speak to you sorry. Hand your order back to you sorry. Don't even say thank you sorry. If they say thank you sorry, it's sorry. Take your car to the car wash. I mean, your job is to just dry the car. The machine washed it. Get the water off of the car. Just wipe the car down. Sorry. Streaks all over the place. Just sorry. Sorry. You don't want to be around a sorry person, because what they do is according to their standard. So you say clean the floor, mop the floor, wash the window, sweep the driveway. And when they're done, their legs are crossed, and you wondering what hurricane blew all the leaves on the driveway. I cleaned the driveway, but it was according to their standard, which was sorry. God does not want us to be sorry. Two others he trusted to do something with what he gave them. This word trustworthy, P-I-S-T-O-S, is really another word for faith. That word faith you use comes from the same word. It means belief, trust, confidence. He had confidence in two, took a chance on one, and he proved himself right. What did he do? He took what his master gave him, buried it, and when he came back, he uncovered it, probably dust still on it, and said, here you go. I knew you reap where you did not sow, and you gather where you did not scatter. So if you knew that, why didn't you do with what I gave you? Why didn't you do something with what I gave you? There is a resounding question that echoes from this passage for every person who identifies as a believer, as a church worshiper, and as a worker for God. You know, I gather where I didn't sow. I reap where I didn't sow. I gather where I did not scatter seed. If you knew that, why aren't you doing something with it? What's the application here? God expects something from you. God expects service from you. God expects deeds from you. Why? Because every day you awaken, God gives you a gift. You want to know what that gift is? Opportunity, time, energy, health, strength. God gives you gifts every time you awaken in the morning. The question is, what are you doing with what God gave you? Now watch this now. When doctors are trained and you got to have surgery, you don't want a lazy doctor coming to the surgery late, coming in after the anesthesia, you sleep, they can't even talk to you. And then they just slow around in the surgery room. You don't want that kind of doctor, do you? What about your lawyer? Who wants a lawyer who has been trained, but who is lazy about getting the job done? When doctors and lawyers are trained, they are expected to implement their training in a precise manner. Represent me, brother. I mean, don't be dragging your feet here. My life is on the line and I'm spending money. I need precision. So get this, when a professional driver has been issued their CDL, their certified driving license, they are literally classified as a professional driver. They are expected to drive in a professional manner. You don't want to see an 18-wheeler just swerving all over the road, over in your lane, about to kill you and the baby. Hitting on the brakes. They're almost about to run over you. They're supposed to drive in a certain manner. That's why you see Department of Transportation representatives all on the interstates and highways examining how these professional drivers drive, because they know they are expected to drive a certain way, right? So God expects believers to engage in his service so as to benefit his kingdom. Kingdom. Hence, God expects the sun to shine because God made the sun to shine. God expects the moon to glow and regulate seasons because God made the moon to regulate the seasons. God expects the wind to blow because God made the wind for blowing. God expects the earth to rotate and make a complete revolution on its imaginary axis in a 24-hour timetable. God expects seed to bear fruit and vegetables because he put the vegetable and the fruit in the seed. God expects the sun to rise and the sun set about the same time every day. God expects the seasons to change from spring to summer, summer to autumn, autumn to winter, and spring right back at the same time it did the previous year. God expects a dog to bark because he made a dog to bark. God expects a kitten to purr because he made kittens to purr. God expects owls to hoot and bears to growl and hyenas to laugh because that's how God made them. God expects service out of you because God made you for his service. Not to be lazy, not to be dormant, not to be passive, not to be listless, not to be idle, not to sit like knots on a log. Whatever God has given you, and certainly it starts with sunrise, and he gives you an opportunity to carry it out every day. So let's get rid of this impediment. Lazy. Remember, I told you, and I close, that when Jesus called Matthew, he was a tax collector. He didn't call a person who was doing nothing. I had a former church member. I ran into us in a store or somewhere. How you doing, Pastor? I'm doing fine. How you doing? I'm doing fine. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, I'm at another church. At another church? Well, wonderful. Yeah, I didn't ask why, but she just volunteered. Well, Pastor, you be gone a lot. You be gone a lot. You preach here, preach there. You be gone a lot. I said, you're doing fine where you are, I hope. I said, but just let me remind you. I said, anytime you find a pastor who ain't doing nothing, he's doing just that, nothing. Anytime you find a man that ain't doing nothing, he's doing just that, nothing. Anytime you try to hook up with a woman that ain't doing nothing, she's doing just that, nothing. And I know I'm using ebonics here, but I'm at home. Matthew wasn't lazy. He was a man who assumed responsibility and accountability. And if he was capable of working for the Roman government, get this now, you didn't see any reference or hue or hint that Matthew, as a writer, that highlighted the laziness of an individual was that he was lazy himself. You miss me? He was in the workforce for the state of Rome. So he gave that up and started following Jesus. You still didn't get it. He juxtaposed the workforce with work for the kingdom. If I can do it for Rome, I can do it for God. If I can do it for Rome, I can do it for Christ. If I can follow Rome, I can follow Christ. If I can collect taxes for Rome, I can work for Christ. If I can do it and be devoted in the workforce, I should be able to do this same thing for the Lord. So you wonder why you got people who can put in 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week in the workforce for the world. But when it comes to kingdom business, I ain't got time. That's my rest day. That's the only time I get some downtime. My Father, that's the only time you don't have. If God can give you energy and ability to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, my God, you can at least put in some time for the kingdom. And stop being so lazy. Let me close with these words. I don't know where I got this from, but I'm going to share it with you. Maybe you picked it up somewhere. Hear these words. Do more than belong to anything. Participate. Do more than help. Do more than care. Help. Do more than believe. Practice. Do more than dream. Work. I'll repeat it. I'll try to be slower this time, but not lazy. Do more than belong to anything. Participate. Do more than care. Help. Do more than believe. Practice. Do more than dream. Work.
Friends, now that you've heard it, let's do it. There is a cliche, an adage, a mantra by the Nike gym shoe manufacturer. It goes something like this: just do it. Now that you've heard the word of God, you've learned more, you know more, now it's time to do. Make practical what you heard. This is not about gym shoes. This is not about Nike. This is about our Creator, who gave us life, health, strength, and the means and ability to do His will. Let's move forward now, and I look forward to seeing you right here next week. God bless you, and God keep you, and may the Lord take a liking to you.